empowers you to live in a better world? Well, I already see words here: community, rights for a better life, fighting for women. Great. I love seeing the positive words over here. Love. Well, youth, rights, girl guides, yay. Women rights, SDG 5. Girls taking the lead. Empathy, that's really a nice word. Human rights, great. We have for the future generation, amazing. Then we also have ending violence against women and girls, great. Solidarity, that is much needed in today's world. I love how these words are dancing in the screen. Then we have our mother nature. Definitely, nature is also important. Nature is very important. And in all our works that we do, we should not forget about our nature, about our planet. Then we have, well, I can't read because you all are so interactive and the words, the cloud is dancing. Then we have food, friends, welfare, passion, amazing. We still have 20 seconds remaining for the ice-breaking activity, and you can still type in words that empowers you to live in a better world. We have sent the link in the chat box. You can follow the link and type in what empowers you to live in a better world. Woman power, I see that there, yay. Well, thank you for taking part in our ice-breaking activity. I am already so motivated after seeing all these positive words, and I'm sure like you will be inspiring and empowering each other to make this world a better place to live in. With this positive note, once again, I would like to welcome you to the High-Level Political Forum WAGGGS event, inspiring a global movement of confident change makers, tackling image inequality and all forms of violence against girls. My name is Rizu. I am a girl guide from Nepal, and I'm one of the session leads and panelists for today's event. Before we start our event, I want to share a few Zoom webinar housekeeping notes. You'll notice that everyone's mics are muted and cameras are turned off. This is intentional to ensure that session runs smoothly without technical glitches. If you have any questions to our panelists, please use the Q&A function, which you can see in the bottom, and we will try to engage as much as we can throughout the session. Please feel free to use the chat box to share your thoughts and communicate with other participants and panelists, but remember to make this a brave and safe space for everyone joining. And finally, the webinar is being live streamed on the WAGGGS YouTube channel. So what is WAGGGS? World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, or also known as WAGGGS, is the largest voluntary movement dedicated to girls and young women in the world, representing more than 10 million Girl Guides and Girl Scouts from 152 different countries. WAGGGS provides unique values-based non-formal educational programs and volunteering opportunities that enables girls to learn and lead and empowers them to speak out and advocate for themselves. And in today's event as well, we will be highlighting the journeys of young advocates who have participated in the Free Being Me and Girls and as Drivers of Change programs of WAGGGS and now are making positive changes in their lives, communities, and the countries through the campaigns. The theme of the High-Level Political Forum this year is Sustainable and Resilient Recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic that promotes the economic, social and environmental dimensions of sustainable development, building an inclusive and effective path for the achievement of the 2030 Agenda in the context of the Decade of Action and Delivery for Sustainable Development. We will be discussing the theme in light of various issues girls and young women are facing around the world. We will bring you two focus areas that we work on, girls as drivers of change and Free Being Me. Free Being Me is a program of WAGGGS which aims to strengthen body confidence and self-esteem of young people to achieve SDG 3, good health and well-being, and SDG 5, gender equality. Likewise, Girls as Drivers of Change is a program focusing on ending gender-based violence through education, raising awareness, lobbying, and community action, again to achieve SDG goal number 5. All our programs are girl-centered, and that is why this session today is also led by me and my fellow girl guides. In this session, we are joined by amazing and inspiring girls from Uganda, Malaysia, and Nepal who would be sharing their work of community action and advocacy works pre and during pandemic. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our amazing girl panelists. So first we have Aisha. Aisha is 17 years old. She is a campaigner against sexual harassment from Uganda. Hi, Aisha. I am so excited to have you as a panelist today. And then we have Elizabeth. She is 24 years old and she is from Malaysia. Hi, Elizabeth. She is a youth leader and mental health counselor in her country, and I'm so excited to learn about what she is doing in her country to make a positive impact in mental health issues. Then we have Hope. Hope is 16 years old and she is a child labor activist. She is also from Uganda. Hi, Hope. And then finally, we have me. I am Rizu. I am 23 years old and I'm from Nepal. And I would like to call myself a gender equality and body confidence activist. And I am sure that we can't wait to hear from these amazing girls about their campaigns and their journeys as advocates. But before that, we will be having a conversation with Antonia Kirkland, who is the global lead for legal equality and access to justice at Equality Now. Now, I'd like to hand over to my friend Elizabeth to moderate the session from here on. Elizabeth, please.
Thank you, Rizu. Hello, everyone, once again. So before I call upon Antonia to join me for our little Q&A session, let me just introduce her to you. So Antonia Kirkland is a human rights lawyer with an intricate working knowledge of how to use international law and human rights mechanisms to advance gender equality for all women and girls. As the global lead for legal equality and access to justice at Equality Now, Antonia provides thought leadership and technical legal support to hold governments accountable under international law to uphold all women and girls' rights. She serves on the Global Program Advisory Committee of the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women, the Steering Committee of the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights, and the Coordination Committee of the Global Campaign for Equality in Family Law. Antonia has been part of the Equality Now family for over 15 years and has worked across all of the organization's program areas, serving as the Legal Equality Program Manager, the Legal Advisor, and as a Program Officer. Previously, Antonia was the coordinator of the Next Generation Leadership Program at the Rockefeller Foundation and served as a consultant for Equality Now on an amicus brief for a case before the US Supreme Court on nationality rights. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Antonia as we ask her a few questions on how can we tackle the mental health and gender equality issue, especially in a time of COVID-19.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I feel that since everybody else was introduced by their age, I should confess that I am 48 years old, but I have two teenage daughters, one who's 17 and one who's 14. So just wanted to add that to my bio, and thank you again. I'm really looking forward to hearing about all your work and your campaigns.
Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so for the first question that we like to just present to you first. So girls are feeling less safe online. During this pandemic, we can also see campaigns and activities building an online footprint. Being confined to working through screens, digital campaigning comes with its own challenges and opportunities. With our world moving online, how do we ensure the online sphere is a safe space for girls and women against violence and harm? And how do we tackle the scrutiny girls and women face in the digital world as they are sexualized, impacting their body confidence and their self-esteem?
Well, these are so many important questions wrapped up in one. I think many of us have probably participated in women's and girls' rights campaigns online. Certainly, our work at Equality Now, which is an international human rights organization, uses social media in all of our campaigns. And of course, we have a website and Twitter and Facebook, etc. And it's a very important component to get the message out and raise public awareness on the issue. But at the same time, as you said, the online space is not always safe for girls. And in fact, UN Women in the time of COVID documented how it's gotten, exponentially worse in terms of online sexual abuse and exploitation. So that's something we're looking at really, really seriously. And for us as a legal advocacy organization whose mission really is to achieve legal and systemic change that will last a long time to better protect women and girls, we look at the law and what governments should be doing better to protect women and girls. So what we're really looking at now is how do we get international law to really speak to governments, encourage them to cooperate, since obviously the digital space is global. It doesn't really have a boundary. It's not something that is very neat that one country can solve all the problems. Countries have to work together. So that's a big focus of our work, is getting governments to take that responsibility. It might be getting a new treaty in place. It might be updating our existing treaties. There's a women's rights treaty, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. There's also the Convention on the Rights of the Child. But those were formulated before the internet even existed. So those committees need to also be looking at this issue and encouraging governments to do better. And then more practically, beyond sort of the UN and global bodies online, we have sort of a guideline for girls on how to stay safe online. Things like don't share your password, be careful who you friend on social media, that sort of thing. So at equalitynow.org, we highlight Childline International's recommendations. So that might be useful for people to share.
Yeah, thank you so much, Antonia. I think one thing that I really caught from what you said is that we need to update a lot of the things, a lot of treaties, a lot of the policies that are already in place, mainly because as we can see, especially during this time of COVID, all the information is just being blasted out online, and we can't seem to be keeping up with a lot of the things that's being out there, and I definitely agree with you. When we do it together, when we are able to pressure governments to do it together, then there is a stronger force to help to bring about the change that we need. Yeah.
Yes, collaboration definitely is so important. So Equality Now also works in lots of coalitions, and a big one is the We Protect Alliance, which is governments, but also tech companies and civil society to try to tackle this issue. Nobody can do it alone. It's so huge. So it's really important to work together. And yeah, girls' voices should be in those spaces as well.
Yeah, I think aligned with that too. A lot of advocates and a lot of activists too are trying to do their best, right, on the ground, trying to get the support that is needed in order to work for your organization to have that sound, that voice from the ground to really build up the evidence that you need to pressure governments. And with that also comes, especially during this time of the pandemic, we are realizing that a lot of systemic issues, a lot of violence against women, against girls, is being highlighted, is almost amplified, especially during this time. And the efforts of advocates like yourself and myself and the rest of the panelists here, it's also seemingly in a balance, because our governments somehow have more urgent needs to fill, especially during this time. And so during this time, how would you suggest, recommend that young girls and young women advocates, how do we optimize our work and advocate effectively for what we want to fight for?
Yeah, this is also a tricky question, I think, for everybody who's advocating for women and girls' rights. I think, a lot of, for example, the UN meetings where you could, talk to governments in the hallway and sort of encourage them to do things one on one and build those kind of relationships. It's obviously much harder to do that now that all these events are virtual. So one thing, that we do is we advocate through the chats and the questions that we ask and prepare, statements and messaging ahead of time. And of course, use social media throughout those meetings and events also to put pressure. But I think the main thing is to stay optimistic and keep up the pressure and keep calling on governments to do the right thing despite the pandemic. So there was one government that was going to cut funding, for example, from shelters, particularly for Indigenous women and girls in their country by a significant amount. And so we mobilized with partners on the ground in that country and also tried to get the regional body involved. So hopefully they will reconsider those funding cuts. And more positively, we do know that governments can make change even during the pandemic. So, for example, the Dominican Republic had a discriminatory child marriage law, which allowed 15-year-old girls to be married off, but not boys. And of course, we want all children to be protected from child marriage, particularly girls. And we believe the minimum age of marriage should be 18 and no exception. And the Dominican Republic was part of one of our campaigns. And in January, they did change the law. So, that shows that governments are perfectly capable of functioning and respecting women and girls' rights even in this time, and should be doing even more to promote them.
Yes, definitely. I like the idea that just because they're telling us different things, right? Just because they're saying, oh, we don't have the resources or there are other things to focus on, it doesn't mean that they can't actually see these issues, as real issues. Even though some people think things like mental health or gender equality are not real issues, quote unquote real issues. But the thing is that a lot of the more urgent issues supposedly that's happening is so much tied to gender equality and mental health things. And you also mentioned that lobbying is different when it comes to digital campaigning, online campaigning. We can't be just so focused or almost stuck in our old traditional ways of lobbying, of meeting them face to face, giving them petitions. But what we can do is that we can engage with them online through the chats and through the different forums and whatnot. Something that like we are doing here right now. We are engaging and we're hoping to do that. Yeah. So the next one is we believe that it is important for us to engage with governments in enacting policies that protect and provide opportunities for girls and young women to have their voices heard safely. What would you say would be the fundamental and tangible non-negotiables, so we cannot compromise on these things, that all governments should be making available to young female advocates, especially in this time of the pandemic?
Sure. I think I think girls and young women can demand to have a seat at the table. We saw this quite successfully actually at the Generation Equality Forum, which was a conference organized by UN Women, the UN agency that's in charge of women's rights, and the governments of Mexico and France. They were the two big organizers, and then there were quite a few other governments. I think you said Sweden was on the line, that was part of this forum. And the Generation Equality Youth Task Force actually really promoted that it needed to be expanded. More girls and young women needed to be involved, and they needed to have more of a voice. And they were quite successful. So the forum was just at the end of June, and they were very visible and saying you can't decide things without us. So I think, yeah, that's a great positive example. I think on sort of the daily basis, I'm sure many of you are involved maybe in school councils, or perhaps your government has, your city or town has a local council. And I know here in New York City, there's a youth council. So to be involved from a young age, I think is a great opportunity if you have them. And if you don't, maybe you can organize together to ask for such a structure and get your voice even more heard. Um, yeah, I think that's one big way. And then I think governments also, of course, need to fund girls' organizations and advocacy organizations and women's rights organizations. And then finally, I think beyond sort of supporting female advocates, I think in general, we have to start from the very beginning with gender equality. And one area is really comprehensive sexuality education, consent-based education, where it's clear that, you know, girls' rights need to be respected from day one. Uh, and also in the law, which is my area of specialty, you know, it's really important that the law reflects equality. So right now, only 10 countries have complete equality according to the World Bank, which is really shocking in 2021. So we still have work to do, including in the United States, where there is no equality provision in the Constitution. Almost nobody here even knows that, but you're taught from an early age how important the Constitution is to your country. So if girls and boys, everybody actually knows that there's equality on the basis of sex or gender, that will start to, I think, hopefully influence people's behavior and see a reduction in violence and discrimination.
Yeah, I thank you so much, Antonia. I absolutely agree with the points that you've brought forward for us. Demanding a seat at the table, I think maybe because of patriarchy in my culture where I'm from in Asia, you know, it's very rare for children and let alone girls to actually voice out and say that I want this and you can't decide things without me. And that's so powerful because it's true. A lot of times we believe that girls or maybe even young women they don't have the knowledge or they don't have the education or the information to make decision for themselves, to be able to decide that these are things that are okay for me and these are things that are not. But to change the entire narrative to say that, hey, you know, we want a place here because you are deciding things about us for us, and you know, we don't even have a say in the things that you're saying right now. And to have a comprehensive sexuality education, that is something that most of the panelists, my fellow panelists and I, in our projects, that's actually something that we're really advocating for, because we realize that even though some in most countries we might have some form of sexual education, whether it be positive identity development or, you know, just how do we conduct ourselves in relation to others, when it's a lot of it is just on paper. When we ask on the ground, the girls and boys are saying that no, we didn't learn these things. We probably in science or biology, we learn
Right.
what
Very
are
mechanical.
yeah, we actually, you know, we know what are our different body parts, what makes us different as boys and girls, but what does that mean? how do we, what happens in real life in practical sense. So yeah, I do agree with you that these are things that is almost seems basic, simple, and going back to these fundamental things really sets the ground for what should be more, hopefully in the future too. Yeah. Last with the last one, social norms, stereotypes, and patriarchy are harmful barriers that keep us from achieving gender equality. As you mentioned, even in 2021, we are still talking about this. We must ensure that any mechanisms for girls and young women are not built on these harmful gender norms. How do you see the future of policy changing to ensure, sorry, let me word that again. How do you see the future of policy changing to ensure girls and young women are confidently participating in all decision-making spaces in the next decade?
Right. Yes, this is sort of like we say in America, like a chicken and egg kind of a, a question, because the World Bank has found that if you have more equal laws, you'll get more um, women participating in politics. So you get more women in parliament. And then if you have more women in parliament, you'll have better laws. So it goes both ways, I think. So we really have to keep up the pressure on governments. They've committed over and over, well before most of the people probably on the call were born. So in 1995, for example, with the Beijing Platform for Action, which is a big human rights standard that we always refer to, it was very clear. Countries said we have to repeal all discriminatory laws. And still, as I said, only 10 have done that. So yeah, we really have to start. That's sort of the very basic minimum first step. And then, the World Bank, has that data, but also other committees at the UN, like that convention I mentioned, CEDAW, the Convention on Elimination of all Forms of Discrimination Against Women, has a committee where they meet with the governments, and they have recommended in the past that governments adopt a quota for political participation. So a certain percentage of your parliamentarians should be women, and maybe we'll see, hopefully, governments adopting those kind of laws and policies to help change those norms. I think law can influence social norms. It says what a government believes about its citizens, basically. So if you're saying, yes, everybody's equal on the basis of sex or gender or sexual orientation, then, that's how you should live your lives. And any discrimination is going to be prohibited or banned. So that's a very sort of important first step for the future of policy making.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from you is that we can see whether or not countries or regions are progressing based on what are they talking about right now about changing their policies. Are they policies, laws, introducing gender equality bills, better rights for children, even child marriage laws? Yeah, I definitely definitely we are seeing some countries, yeah, talking a little bit more about it. I think right now on the ground it is us as advocates, girls, young women, anyone alike who are advocating for these things. We do need to continue pushing on, to continue to lobby them, to continue to pressure them, because it's not like these things are new. There are certain things in place, but there always seems to be a little backlog, more urgent need that comes in, and so it's our job, right, to keep them accountable to, hey, this is important. The other things, to a certain extent, they can wait. This one helps to set the foundation so that you can build on the rest of these other things that you think is important.
Right. And you
Yeah.
mentioned, I think, the Sustainable Development Goals at the beginning.
Yeah. Mhm.
And those are also so clear that gender equality is fundamental for a
Yes.
country's development, not
Yeah.
just for the benefit of women and girls themselves, but for their families, their communities, and the whole world, really. So, yeah.
Yeah. So as we end this little segment of our time together, I wonder whether, Antonia, you would like to say last a message of encouragement of sorts to our audience. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm just so thrilled to be with you and to hear about your campaigns. I think it's really important for us grown-ups and women's rights organizations to hear and listen to what young women and girls are saying and what they're demanding in their own campaigns and help amplify those. And if you're interested in the issues that we're working on, of course, you can join Equality Now. And see our website. I can put the link in the chat. Um, yeah, so I really look forward to hearing more about your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, so now I will pass it on to Aisha for our next segment. Thank you. Not sure if Aisha, you can hear me? Otherwise, yeah, I'll call upon Lian. So I think Aisha might be facing some technical difficulties at the moment. So I'll pass it on to Lian Su, who will help Aisha.
So, hi everyone. My name is Lian Su, and I am also a gender equality activist from Madagascar. So thank you so much, Elizabeth and Antonia, for highlighting voice points. And I totally agree with you that collaboration and partnership with decision makers and other civil organizations are key, and we should not stop the work. So let's continue the work, girls and everybody, and let's shine. So I'm really glad to moderate this session where very passionate change makers from Malaysia, Nepal, and Uganda will be sharing with us their journeys during their campaigns. And first of all, I would like to hand over to Elizabeth, who is a youth leader and mental health activist, to tell us about her project. So Elizabeth, please over to you.
Thank you so much, Lian Su. I believe there is, before I introduce my project, I have a video to introduce my project with. So if we can head that up, then yeah. Sorry, we can't hear the, yeah. Maybe while we wait for us to fix the audio thing, maybe I will just introduce my project in words first. Okay, and when it's ready, then we'll play it. Okay, so thank you, Lian Su, once again. So my project, in January this year, I founded project #WonderfullyMade. It is a youth-led digital advocacy campaign aimed at ending self-objectification among Malaysian youths. So self-objectification is a pervasive, invasive, and insidious mental health issues. 3 big words right there, but with many purposeful reasons why those words were used. It stems from the patriarchal normalization of first objectifying females and children, and then we included to objectify males. To ensure everyone is on the same page of what objectification is, allow me to provide the following statements. So a person is objectified if one or more of the following treatments are applied to them. So number one, the person is a tool for another's purposes. The person is not allowed to act for themselves. The person is an object and is interchangeable. The person has no integrity and can be violated. There is no need for concern for the person's experiences or feelings. The person is acknowledged primarily in terms of how they look or how they appear to our senses. And lastly, the person is treated as if they are silent. Self-objectification occurs when individuals like you and I internalize at least one of the treatments I have just mentioned. Among youths, the problem is apparent and rampant by the way we conduct ourselves on social media and in reality. Youths are more likely to share visual contents that highlight or sexualize our physical appearances, and we acknowledge people's praises of how hot, how sexy, sometimes even how fit or how tight we look. We offer ourselves as friends with benefits, partners to only have sexual relations with, and allow ourselves to be objectified and used in various manners due to what I believe to be a lack of positive identity development. In Malaysia, when compared to objectification and sexualization, self-objectification is a relatively unknown issue. Malaysians often speak of and against objectification and sexualization as external experiences that occur to us and others. But we fail to realize that we objectify ourselves too. In Malaysia, our collectivistic culture that focuses on prioritizing others or the community before ourselves undermines the necessity for individuality, personality, and self-appreciation. Before I continue on with more of what I have to say about my project, I believe the video is ready to be shared.
Yes, Elizabeth, I'll be sure.
Thank you so much, Rizu.
Self-objectification is when people view themselves as objects for use instead of human beings.
Self-objectification is when our worth and our beauty is being defined purely by appearance.
Both men and women struggles with self-objectification that is most commonly seen among women.
To me, the main trigger of self-objectification is the like count on social media.
What triggered me the most is when women or young girls have to suffer mental illness because of what they think of themselves.
I don't like it when most people will be too quick to judge people by their appearance rather than just taking the time to know them better.
The constant pressure to be flawless physically makes the expenses increase in beauty products.
It taints the way we view ourselves and other people.
Self-objectification may cause low self-esteem and low self-love, and we might always feel insecure, and in some cases, we can't even bring ourselves to interact with people. They might not be able to portray themselves as who they truly are. This may lead them to make extreme measures in order just to please others.
I would say that society in general is to be blamed for this because one, we have an absurd standard of beauty, and two, we as members of society, we have continued to allow self-objectification to go on by pitting ourselves and other people to that standard, despite knowing how ridiculous and absurd it really is.
I would say social media giants, fashion giants, and how community train girls to think or be like the normalized standard of beauty.
People who do not meet these requirements try to fit in until they lose sight of themselves and treat themselves as an object to please the public.
I think social media is a very powerful platform to voice out our opinions.
We believe that every youth in Malaysia, when they know the existence of this self-objectification deeply, we are able to stop it altogether by being confident in ourselves and love ourselves as who we are. It can possibly be stopped if we raise awareness to the community of the consequences of self-objectification. When more people are aware of this situation, they will stop the negative habits that may result in self-objectification. education.
Thank you so much, Rizu. And can I just say this? I see so many comments of people saying that they are from Malaysia too. I am so excited for you to be here. Thank you. So let me continue with what I have prepared. As a youth leader and mental health counselor, personally, I have witnessed so many youths struggling with self-esteem issues due to self-objectification. Body confidence on social media became a buzzword that was synonymous to portraying a sexualized self. And then it translated to popularity and social acceptance in physical settings. Project Wonderfully Made seeks to raise awareness about this mental health issue by sharing informational content through Instagram and by conducting online workshops and forums about positive identity development. Today, we have posted 17 topics related to self-objectification, conducted the hashtag Breaking the Glass Ceiling Forum, in which we invited panelists representing different genders, different professions, and different generations. And soon we plan to have a workshop series on positive identity development. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic in Malaysia and the state of our nation's political crisis, it has been profoundly difficult for our project to reach our goals according to our original plan. Like I mentioned earlier, when compared with physical health and basic needs of food and shelter, Malaysian society perceives that addressing mental health and gender equality as too abstract. This belief persists despite a recently released national report that stated at least 50% of suicide cases reported since 2019 in Malaysia involve youths aged 15 to 18. In light of that report, just last weekend, my team and I decided that we needed to directly address the mental health crisis in Malaysia. We need our policymakers to take mental health seriously and treat it just as they were to treat the COVID-19 pandemic. Mental health awareness is critically lacking in our society, and with that, gender inequality persists because of unhelpful cultural beliefs entrenched deep in our society. Youths especially severely lack the necessary comprehensive resources to obtain the help that they desperately need. So as part of Project Wonderfully Made's long-term efforts, we aim to lobby various government ministries in Malaysia for a collective introduction and uncompromisable enforcement of stricter policies. We are asking for three things. We want stricter regulation of the media, advertising, and corporate industry's portrayal of unattainable beauty standards through their products and services. Secondly, we want the introduction of policies that mandate the integration of gender equality and positive identity development education and culture into national and non-national school curriculums and activities. And last but certainly not least, we want comprehensive and quality mental health resources and services made easily available to all ages and permeating all sectors of society, especially family and education. Gender equality and good health and well-being are basic human rights. They are not privileges. They are not abstract concepts, but actual issues that must be addressed now. I invite all of you here to join me in calling upon our policymakers to end the mental health and gender equality pandemic. Rectifying these issues must begin now. Thank you for your attention. I now pass it back to Liansu.
Wow, Elizabeth, your project Wonderfully Made is just such an amazing project, and thank you so much for your presentation, because I totally agree with you. Self-objectification has becoming such a huge issue, especially among girls and women, and we should fight against it because it is as harmful as physical violence. And we also have another amazing project from our girl guide from Uganda. So over to you, Aisha, to present us your project. Aisha, are you there? So unfortunately, because Aisha can't join us, I think we can show her video to for us to know what her project is about.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Aisha from Uganda Girl Guides Association, and I'm taking part in Girls as Drivers of Change project and a Stop the Violence campaign. Girls as Drivers of Change project began in 2019 and it has been in existence for the past 2 years and a half. After training the Girl Guide unit leaders in the Stop the Violence curriculum, the Girl Guides in their respective schools were also trained. In my school, we attained knowledge on the different forms of violence, the gender roles, and the safe places in the communities. So, with acquired knowledge, we chose to fight sexual harassment because it's a huge problem of girls in my community. Sexual harassment results into school dropouts, teenage pregnancy, and forced child marriage. Hence, low self-esteem and lack of confidence in girls, which increases their vulnerability to other forms of violence. We have attained several skills like entrepreneurship, advocacy, and leadership skills during the Solutions Lab. So we set up a piggery farm as an income generating project at our school to assist girls with scholastic materials, school fees, and other necessities. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our project has encountered several challenges, among which is that the project activities had to be put on hold for 6 months due to the lockdown, and there are rampant cases of sexual harassment in Kamuli district and Uganda at large. Once the lockdown is lifted, we shall empower more girls so as they induce change in their communities. Therefore, I warmly thank Uganda Girl Guides Association, World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, People's Postcode Lottery for their endless endeavors to ensure the success of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for this amazing project. And I hand over to Hope to talk us about her project.
Hello, nice to meet you all. My name is Hope. I'm from Uganda Girl Guides Association, and I am part of Girls as Drivers of Change project.
I think we lost Hope. I'm so sorry for the technical glitch. In the meantime, I will be sharing her video. So sorry we had this technical glitch.
Hello, nice to meet you all. My name is Mutoni Hope. I'm from Uganda Girl Guide Association. I am part of Girls as Drivers of Change project. Girls as Drivers of Change project started in 2019. Our unit leader trained us to stop violence curriculum at our school as we girl guides. We have learned about making liquid soap, tailoring as part of our project. From Girls as Drivers of Change project, we're given money to come up with a project and to end gender-based violence. And we chose to fight child labor by making reusable pads. The reason was that girls are labored as house girls, working in bars and in restaurants, which leads to school dropout. In this process, girls are raped, defiled, kidnapped, and sexually harassed because of lack of protection. Our vision is to see child labor-free society and to empower girls to be self-sustained and to see more girls complete their education. We use this money to help the needy girls, to buy more materials and machines and to train girls and women in the community. I really love this project. I can support my fellow girls as they remain in school and complete their education. I would also like to say thank you to the People's Post Cont for their support. We can now see that when girls are given the opportunities, we can be the drivers of change as safe space. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Riju, for sharing us Hop's video. And she was totally right. Supporting girls and women education is key, and it's time to fight against gender-based violence. So finally, I hand over to Riju to present us your amazing project and hope that everybody will enjoy it.
Thank you, Lian. So before I start sharing about my project, I would like to share the film that I made for my project. So let me share the screen.
You look great. Have you lost weight? You should try this fairness cream.
God, you are tall. How will you get a husband with that height?
You look like a stick in that dress.
Putting on braces are cheaper these days.
They said I was too fat.
He said I was too skinny.
She said I was too short.
He said I was too tall. They said I had flat chest.
She said I had thick thighs.
You are tall.
Too dark.
Too dark.
They said
Putting
I
on
had
cheaper
hair.
Sprouting. She said I was too
They
short.
said,
And I said, stop. Stop commenting on my body. This is my body, not an invitation for public commentary. Our society has this insane ideal of beauty and the perfect body. We are obsessed over perfection. Perfect skin, perfect eyes, perfect weight, perfect smile, and whatnot. And if you do not fit into that perfect beauty ideals, then you are teased, humiliated, and picked apart. Vilifying ours and others' bodies have been so much normalized in our daily lives and in the media that oftentimes we do not realize that our casual comments or name callings can in fact lead someone towards eating disorders, social anxiety, depression, or body dysmorphic disorder. It's time that we realize that beauty comes in every shape, every size, and every color. It's time that we tear apart the idea of perfection because every imperfections is just so perfect. Perfect imperfections.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the film as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you so much, WAGGGS and British Film Institute, for giving this opportunity to explore filmmaking. Hi again, my name is Rizu. I am from Kathmandu, Nepal. As you know, Nepal is a really small country, and although it is a small country, it is a country of diversity. And the diversity also includes the diversity in terms of appearances. But even though of that appearance diversity in my country, we all are expected to look the same and follow certain norms to be considered beautiful. Tall but not too tall, slim but not thin, long straight black hair, and most important of all, fair skin. That is how beauty is defined here. And for those who do not well fit into that criteria of that beauty definition, they are easily picked apart and shamed for how they look. I noticed that commenting on someone else's appearances and shaming others for how they look, especially body policing, is so much normalized in my society. Because after the first lockdown, when I met with people, the first thing that they commented on was either my weight or how my skin had changed during lockdown. Obviously, these unsolicited remarks on my body prevented me from being my confident self. And I found out that it's not just me. According to U report, 47% of people said that social distancing and lockdown negatively impacted their self-image. While the COVID pandemic has threatened people's physical health worldwide, a new study found out that pandemic-induced stress, which is also linked to body image, noticeably like being locked up inside and spending more and more time in social media and seeing things like hashtag fitspiration and hashtag like quarantine glow up in our timelines all the time. It really pressurized us to look a certain way, which adversely affected our eating behaviors and the relationship with our body. And I also think like giving more emphasis on appearances is a way of telling that how I look as a person matters more than how I am as a person. And I don't think that should be happening. Though such a huge problem that is crushing the self-esteem of young people, I saw little to no action being taken and little to no voices being raised in this regard. And that's why I started my advocacy campaign, Perfect Imperfections. Through this campaign, we intend to educate individuals through digital platforms on various ways of embracing imperfections, empower them through activities and programs to make them feel good in their own skin, and advocate and strive for a community where gender-based body policing and appearance bullying have no place in our daily lives. Low body confidence, poor body image, and gender-based body policing in schools are important issues that are creating a barrier to achieve SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 5, gender equality. we are currently demanding the Ministry of Education of Nepal to establish an experts committee within MOE to introduce mandatory training for teachers to enhance their knowledge and practice of gender sensitivity and body confidence to put an end to the gender-based body policing we have here in schools. But as you might know, the latest COVID wave was very harsh in Nepal. We lost so many lives and our hospitals broke down, and it also disproportionately affected our campaign, and unwillingly we had to pause our advocacy work because the country had more urgent needs to look after. We missed our chance to lobby with the decision makers before the end of this fiscal year, which is quite sad. But of course, we had realized how important it is to be aware and to aware others and to educate others about body image issues, especially during this pandemic. So we did not stop digitally campaigning, which included sharing contents on social media and organizing interactive and engaging virtual events. We want the decision makers to realize that body image and self-esteem issues are real problems, not just something that we have on our heads and not just another elite problem. I hear this all the time. It's not the main problem in the country. I hear this all the time, but it's the main problem. 8 out of 10 girls do not engage in activities they love because they are not confident in their own bodies, and that's a huge number. Having representation of diverse body types in the mainstream media is very important because when we can't see, we can't be. Along with that, it is really important to educate children from young ages on self-esteem and body confidence. And that is possible if we have well-researched self-esteem related curriculums in school. And finally, the contents in social media should be regulated because with the filters and image modification and unrealistic beauty advertisements that we have around our social media, it has really been easy to set that beauty standards. I know that these are some major changes that we are demanding, but I also know that these changes are possible and this can happen. So I call all the decision makers to listen to us and help make this world a better place to live in, help make this world a place where no person will be left behind because of how they look. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Riju. And personally, I think this is a problem that each of us are facing every day, where norms are forcing us to follow an ideal which doesn't even exist, and we should face negative comments about our own appearance, about our own body. And it's really time to say, stop, let's stop it. So thank you so much. And we could have seen that there were many projects linked to SDGs from WAGGGS and Girl Guides from everywhere around the world, Nepal, Uganda, Malaysia, and so on and so forth. And I want to invite you to read and to follow this link to see our projects, our amazing campaigns and amazing advocacy projects that our fellow Girl Guides and Girl Scouts are doing. They are doing really fantastic activities around SDGs. So please feel free to see the link on the website where you can read and watch more on their various campaigns. So you can see the link here. Feel free to follow them. And now I am handing over to Elizabeth, who is going to give us more insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lian-Su. Thank you so much to all my lovely other panelists as well for sharing your projects. Before I give you more insights, I just wanted to check whether Aisha and Hope whether you can hear us and whether you're able to, maybe you'd like to say a few more things about your presentation, just to tell the audience the recent updates on your projects. Aisha, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just like I lost the audio, but now I can hear you clearly.
Okay, yeah. Would you like to maybe just share with us a few more things about your project?
Of course, I'd wanted to add some stuff to the video because there's some information that I added said in that video. So I basically wanted to convey this key message to the decision makers that once they're making decisions on how to end gender-based violence in the communities, they should also consider the vulnerable girls in the remote areas and make these policies accessible to them as well. Yeah. So I think that when we are together, we can work hard and come up with a violence-free environment and a brave space for every girl to live in confidently. Yeah. So I think it's that one that I had left out in my presentation verbally.
Yeah, I think that's great, Aisha. Thank you. Ho, how about you? Can you hear me? Can you hear us? And would you like to share a few more words about your project?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead. We are all listening.
Pardon your question?
Sorry, I asked whether you have anything else you'd like to add about your project. You want to tell us?
Yes, please. Like in our project, we needed like to add on some more machines so that we can skill girls and young women in the community.
Great, thank you so much. Great, thank you so much, Hope, for sharing that with us. Yeah, so as Liansu mentioned, you can find out more about the different projects that we have, and also there's so many other young women advocates and girl advocates that is by WAGGGS as well. So you can feel free to check us out and do support our campaigns. So now we will move on to the next segment, which is I'm going to share with you some important insights with regards to mental health and gender equality issues, especially during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. If all of you can go, I believe there is a slide for this. It's a little mini quiz. So if you can scan the QR code, or you can go to the same link that we sent you earlier, ahaslides.com/HLPF. Okay, and then you will see that there is a little quiz that is designed to engage you all in the realities and changes or challenges to the SDGs that we have spoken of today. So we spoke of SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, and SDG 5, which is gender equality. Some of us even mentioned SDG 4, if I'm not mistaken, quality education too. So use the link in the chat. I believe the QR code is no longer there, so if you can just type the link into your browser, that would be great. Okay, and yeah, just answer the questions that are on the screen. You will have around 1.5 minutes to choose your answer before I tell you what would be the results. So in the slide, you can see the first question is, in our recent U-Report consultation with girls and young women, what percentage of girls said that they were worried about their future? So we have option 1, which is 90% of the girls, option 2, 30% of the girls, and option 3, 50% of the girls said that they are worried about their future. Okay, for now, it seems like a lot of people are saying that 90% of girls are worried about their future, and the others are going for probably the safer option. 50% of the girls are worried about their future. All right, we'll wait for a little while more because we have some people still answering. Okay, so although there are more people answering, it seems that more people are choosing 90% of the, of the 90% of the girls are worried about their future. Okay, yeah. So would that be the correct answer? I think we are experiencing a little bit of a technical difficulty. Sorry, everyone. So the next question here says, what percent of girls told us that victim blaming is a problem in their community? So meaning that if something were to happen to them, sexual harassment. So if something were to happen to them, sexual harassment, rape, gender-based violence, domestic violence, anything at all that you can think of that's related to gender inequality, most girls would say that people are blaming them, that it is their fault. Okay, 80%, 50% of you who voted are saying that 80% of girls are saying that victim blaming is a problem in your communities. Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. Okay. So we are bouncing off on 63, 64 people who have already voted on it. Okay. Perhaps at least 50%. Shall we see what is the answer? What is the correct answer? Yes, so most of you are right. 80% of girls are saying that victim blaming is a problem in our community. And this is a very serious problem because it means that we are not taking reports of sexual harassment, gender-based violence, rape, any sorts of gender inequality. We are not taking them seriously because we are saying that it is the girls, it's the victim's fault, it's the survivor's fault that these things happen to them. Right, can we have the next question? What percent of girls told us that challenges from COVID-19 restrictions impacted their self-image? So with this one, if you could just quickly vote in your answers because we are running a little bit short of time. And then we can see, wow, more than 60% of you are saying that 47% of girls told us that challenges from COVID-19 are impacting their self-image. In other words, because of COVID-19, maybe they're locked down at home, they only have their social media, as some of us in our campaigns mentioned, because they are engaged with their social media all the time, it's actually getting worse. Even though they're not seeing their friends physically, they're seeing their friends online, right? And it is causing them a lot of mental health concerns, especially impacting their self-image. Yeah, can we see the answer, please? And you're right, 47% of girls are saying that it is a big problem for them. Thank you so much. And the last question, I believe we have a fourth one. Yeah, this is the last one. What percent of girls told us that they experience harassment, abuse, and violence online? Yeah. Yes, harassment online is definitely something that is not new, but it's becoming worse, especially during this pandemic. Recently, I heard of someone saying that usually before the age of the internet, bullies are left. Bullies would usually just remain in schools, in your different community settings, but now bullies are coming into your home, where your home is supposed to be safe. 83% of you say that. Let's see the results, please. The correct answer. And you're right. 50% of girls are saying that we are experiencing harassment, abuse, violence online. And this is not something that is of their own doing. There are a lot of people out there who are not surfing the internet safe, and they are causing a lot of harm, especially to girls and young women that are engaging on the internet too. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in our little quiz. I hope this gives you important insights that there is a real challenge to SDGs, even before the pandemic, and now it's getting even worse. It means that we need to work together and harder for concrete policies and actions to be led by our governments and decision makers. So here are a few key messages and the vision that we have at WAGGGS. So number one, for governments, we want them to integrate evidence-based programming into school curriculum and activities. We want them to ensure that a body confidence culture includes gender-based violence prevention and gender equality is being taught in classrooms and in extracurricular activities. Next, we want governments to incentivize advertising companies and social media companies to stop using either airbrushing or other enhancement techniques to promoting them on their platforms. We want the media, so we're talking about television, print, online magazines, advertisers, to stop propagating unobtainable body ideals and to portray a diversity of women and girls with a broad range of healthy body types, physical abilities, skin tones across media. This includes the portrayal of girls and women in public and private life. Next, we also want governments to increase their investment into local and national services to support girls and women suffering from all forms of violence. We want them to promote these services and invest in violence reporting, specifically by strengthening cyber laws and online harassment reporting schemes. Lastly, we want our governments to adopt, to strengthen, and crucially, to enforce laws and policies on all forms of violence against girls and women, including harassment in public spheres, public spaces, schools, and workplaces. And we do not want them to allow the perpetrators to walk away without any consequences or with little consequences. So you can find all of our asks, okay, you can find more of this, what we want to ask from decision makers, if you follow the link to our Listen to Goals. So the link will be posted into the chat. All right, so, and it's also mentioned there on the screen. Okay, if you follow that, you'll find out more about what we are asking and how you can help us be the change and drive the change. Thank you for engaging with us. And now, if Hope is still there, I will pass it on to Hope.
Yes, please.
Okay, so over to you, Hope.
Thank you, Madam Elizabeth, for sharing some of those very important insight things with us. Now, I would like to invite World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts partners to tell us about why and how programs that have supported us in our project come about. First, we have Callum joining us from the People's Postcon Lottery to tell us about the history of Girls as Drivers of Change project.
Thank you so much, Hope. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Callum. I work at the People's Postcode Lottery. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. First of all, I'd like to congratulate WAGGGS and all of the panelists today for arranging such an inspiring event. It's been great to be here and an absolute privilege to be able to speak alongside you today. So for those of you who don't know, People's Postcode Lottery are a UK-based funder, which has been providing funding for charities and good causes since 2008. We provide funding to charities across a number of different sectors, and around a quarter of our funding supports work internationally in different countries around the world. So we've been supporting the Girls Against Drivers of Change project with WAGGGS in Uganda and Jordan since 2018. And this is quite a new thing for us as a funder. We'd never asked charities to work together before in partnership on an international scale like this, and we had never had a clear focus on the issue of gender-based violence specifically before. But we've been absolutely delighted to be involved with the project, and the achievements that we've seen have just been so encouraging. So I wanted to provide you with three main reflections that I've had from working on the project with the charities. One is that the COVID-19 pandemic has made tackling the issue of gender-based violence more important than ever. The UN has called violence against women and girls the shadow pandemic, and hearing how the project has was adapted by WAGGGS to meet the needs of the girls involved was just so encouraging. And I feel that it's so important that funders continue to prioritize this area of work in the future, because it is an area that needs so much more support because of everything that is happening in the world right now. Second, what made the project stand out for us, as we've seen today, is the girl-led approach that WAGGGS were committing to through the project. As a funder, this was important for us because we're aware of how important it is to put local people and local voices front and center in the fight for gender equality. We knew that we were taking a risk that other funders wouldn't by supporting the project in this way. However, I think, as you can see from today's event, the project has been a huge success, and the way in which girls have gone about developing their ideas and solutions and to tackle gender-based violence is just so inspiring. It's been so incredibly informative for us as a funder in terms of how we look to fund more locally led projects in the future, and we'll be taking these learnings forward in our next round of funding. And lastly, collaboration has been such a huge, important part of the project over the last few years, particularly in the face of disruption caused by COVID-19. Not only did it allow charities to share their expertise and multiply the impact of the project, but we were also delighted to hear how Girl Guides were coming together to speak about gender equality and to support each other during the pandemic. This solidarity and the opportunity for them to work together and grow together is such an important part of the project and something that we've been really proud to be a part of. So I'll just finish by saying a huge thank you again to WAGGGS for inviting me and to our host today as well, and to the project team for implementing such an inspiring and worthwhile project. Thank you again.
Thank you so much,